Good morning and happy election day in the United States. And that's all I have to say about that, except that I gotta take the echo away. There we go. Well, to continue my story, we had gotten towards the end of 2010, and I had had my midlife crisis. Actually, it was still raging. And I, at this point, flew out to New York City to do a training with Kelly Wilson in ACT, and ran into Dennis Tirsch and had a conversation with him. And I'm going to bookmark that because I think for narrative purposes, it would be good to describe that a little later on, perhaps in the next video. What I'm going to describe now, again, is in the service of communicating exactly how I wanted to use the word torturous, and maybe that's not a terrible word to use. Maybe how torturous it can be to pursue a values-based life, at least for a period of time, until one has worked out some of the details of how exactly one is going to do it. I'm not going to recap. You can go back and watch again if there's anything you want to review. So, having, in my own view, failed in my first couple of ventures back into music, or perhaps if not failed, at least not found a really satisfying way forward that felt sustainable, I then got it into my head. I'd been reading some books on business and whatnot. I got it into my head that maybe the thing to do was to get rich. Don't laugh. All right, go ahead, laugh. Get rich and then become a musician. So as a psychologist, there's not a lot of ways to get rich or even moderately wealthy. But one of the ways is to start a clinic and hire a whole lot of people and sort of have a therapy mill working for you. And with that, I'll spare you the grisly details on that. But it turned out that this is no simple matter, particularly not when you have a pretty good set of ethics and a pretty shoddy set of managerial skills, both of which I think are true for me. And also when fundamentally what you want is not to run a clinic, but to be a musician and a therapist. So that was a short-lived, maybe 2 to 3 year endeavor, ending with my partly voluntarily, partly involuntarily dismantling my group practice, and around that time beginning to channel my energy, my desire for performance and creativity into, guess what? Making videos using stuffed animals and various low-tech visual aids, a point-and-click camera built into my computer, and all this stuff that you know. Well, that was and is very satisfying, but it's not music. Although I have occasionally whipped out the guitar and played a chord or two for you, not often. So the problem of what to do with this music thing remained. I took out an ad in Craigslist saying I wanted to start a band and that I was a composer, and I listed the progressive rock influences that I was basing my stuff on. To call myself a composer was taking it a little far, as I had not much material but I intended to. I interviewed a few people and found one that I really liked talking to, and actually he and I did end up playing quite a bit together after hours and played a couple of gigs. He being pretty much a beginner in music, but a really great guy, and got my feet wet out in a couple of different clubs in Portland. And, well, I suppose there's not that much more to tell at this stage of the story. And I feel like the fourth video should be, I feel like a separate video should have the conclusion of the story. And I'm going to wrap this one up and put the whole conclusion, including its background, together in one video. Now.